are Smart City Navigators, a podcast about innovation, sustainability, and new technologies on the market.
This podcast is brought to you by NaviParking. Having started his career as an entrepreneur in the creative and consulting sector 6 years ago, Ahmed Rafiey is a luxury brand strategist by degree, NaviParking's very own global brand manager, and its country manager in Kingdom of Bahrain. Let's welcome Ahmed Rafiey in today's episode of Smart City Navigators podcast. Ahmed, how are you? Welcome.
Well, I'm good. I'm really having a good time, and I'm really glad to be here today with you on the podcast. A big shout out to the marketing and design team at NaviParking for their tremendous efforts on getting this podcast out and about, and at the same time handling many different initiatives that are currently being taken over as well.
Yes, thank you very much. We're gonna speak today about branding and about branding, maybe not in general, but including the technology topic, which is a very important topic.
Sure. Yes.
Let's start from the technological point of view, and how can technology become a part of our daily lives from a brand building perspective?
So when we talk about businesses and the field of technology that are opening right now, a lot of them are creating these narratives around themselves and identities around themselves, and we call that brand identity. And when they start without a purpose and without solving a certain problem in this world, then it becomes really hard for this particular brand, with its components, with its image and solutions that it has within it, to become part of people's daily lives. When we say people's daily lives, it's all about how can we diffuse anything into cultural narratives, into norms and belief systems of any society or community or any country in this case. And from a brand building perspective, that takes a long time. Now, when we come to the technology sector in this case, as I said, we have a lot of these companies starting out really great. They do think they have built a brand, but truly, because they just started, that aspect of a brand is not yet there. What do I mean by that exactly? I mean that people have not judged that particular company and services yet. People have not developed any affinity towards that line of product that this company is providing, and so on and so forth. So it is hard for them to claim that they have a brand and they have become part of people's let's say habitual routines, and daily life. So in order for us to get there, first of all, it has to be a long-term plan. Second of all, we have to be purpose-driven brands, which means we have to be able to solve a problem and address a problem first and solve a problem in the world. And we have to understand what's so special about us and what capabilities and resources do we actually have as a company in order for us to solve that particular problem. And when we even let's say deep dive into a problem, we usually tend to go to the surface layer of that problem. We don't usually go to the root cause of that problem. And with many companies across the sector, or even across any sector, the problem is that they take that surface statement. Okay, we have to preserve the planet because the planet is dying. But why is the planet dying? Why is the planet dying? And what caused the entire world to actually focus on the idea of that, the fact that our planet is dying. We need to preserve it, and so on and so forth. We have to trickle down from the surface level of the problem to the root cause of the problem, and we're seeing that happening on let's say the governmental scale, because they're actually taking this for example, the idea of climate change very seriously, if I were to give that as an example. But we're not seeing that per se with a lot of startups in technology sector. So for them to become culturally diffused into any sort of group of people or community, they'll have to first of all define a clear purpose based on the root cause of a problem and based on what they can actually do with their capabilities, skill sets, and resources to solve that problem. They have to be purpose-driven brands. And by time, as I said before, it's a long-term process. It might take 5 years, it might take 10 years, it might take 3 years, but because it's a long-term process, you'll find any solution or any product basically diving into the daily lives of people and their essential activities when they find a need for it, when they find it convenient, when they find it efficient, when the steps towards solving their problems and their daily needs are met in an easy, simple, seamless way. And that is exactly what we do at NaviParking. Our solutions revolve around convenience, efficiency, productivity, and of course, sustainability as a core value there.
But sometimes from new emerging technologies, people are very suspicious. They say we wanna do old school methods. Maybe how to do from a brand point of view, how to maybe not convince people, but to show them different picture.
We are conditioned as humans to not accept change because we're wired for survival at the end of the day, So in order for us to, let's say, take a sample of the population who are thinking that the old school way is better to something else, we need to show them through human experience. We need to show them what our solutions, for example, do that makes their lives easier. Where does it fall in their daily routine that makes their lives seem seamless and convenient and efficient? And surely we do get resistance. In the technology sector in general, you do get resistance from new products or new solutions. The way towards that is to first of all, go for the highest impact. What I mean by that is we push the solution forward onto a mass adaptation instead of just going for a niche group in the beginning. And based on that, we do a trial and error kind of exercise all the time to find out whether we are meeting the needs of a certain group as opposed to another. What could we do for the another group that is not really jumping on the bandwagon, and so on and so forth. So it's about shifting strategy. It's about brand positioning at the end of the day. It's about creating and enhancing this image based on actionable movement, based on products that actually deliver on the promise of the company towards its customers, on the promise of the company towards the market. A lot of technology companies over-promise and possibly under-deliver. This is because they haven't gotten a clue on what their resources are. What's so special about them? We ask this simple question in brand building: what's so special about us? Why us? So they haven't got that figured out, and that is the root problem of many let's say failed sales pitches in the market. And sometimes you've got technology startups that rise beautifully from the ground up, but then what they have offered of a solution or an application or a platform is dominantly not for the convenience of it. It's more of a luxury to have. So the trend that we're seeing in the technology sector right now is that people need solutions and platforms that would make their lives easier, more efficient, and so on and so forth, more productive. You know, at NaviParking, we even have bigger ambitions than that. We see, for example, infrastructure that is in place, urban infrastructure, as as industrial age era situation right there. So
or even
we want to shift.
post-industrial.
Exactly. So we want to transform that aspect to the information and digital age, because we think that that is sustainable, that preserves the planet, that actually provides the efficiency and the productiveness for citizens and populations and customers, from the enterprise to the individuals, to be able to live their lives in the most seamless way by using technology. So we don't allow technology to use us; we use technology for our benefit.
And that is very important point.
Yes.
And we focus in technology area, and technology is like merging with human daily life. But this entire market, the market of technology, is very saturated. And you said before about how to be succeeded in let's say in a startup community, but the market is very saturated. How to be successful startup?
When we go into saturated markets, you'll find a lot of similarities between many companies and the solutions they provide. That is one aspect. It's the unique value proposition, the selling proposition that definitely every company has to work on. But at the same time, you'll have to also adapt to the dynamics of the market, but also adapt to the dynamics of your audiences in the market. We are in a very fast growing sector. Technology is rapidly growing every day. For example, I'll give you an example of what happened a few weeks back in our country here in the Kingdom of Bahrain. The central bank finally verified Apple Pay, and within 1 week, every major application was adopting Apple Pay on their platforms for everyone to pay through Apple Pay. So for those applications who did not adapt to the idea of Apple Pay and the fact that everyone now can pay with Apple Pay, they were left behind. So they did not see that through. They did not forecast that. They did not anticipate that. Our market is very saturated with applications.
But did they know that it's coming?
They do have a general idea that it's coming, but they're so busy into working on their narrative, on their application, that they forget about the market. They forget about the customer sometimes. And it happens, and I don't blame them for that. It happens because when you're really passionate about the platform you're building in the technology sector, then you're going down the rabbit hole, and sometimes, and I've done it before, a lot of people have done it before, sometimes you lose track of what's going on in the market. At NaviParking, however, if I were to give an example of what we do in the company, we're shifting our strategy literally every day. When the pandemic occurred back in the days, 2 years ago, I believe, we had a lot of parking lots that were empty. Basically, there's a lot of infrastructure that is empty, because people now are working from home. Instead of seeing that as a threat, we saw that as an opportunity. In what sense? We saw that as an opportunity because now we can address address these companies and corporations and cities and governments and tell them that right now is your chance to digitalize, so that when your employees are back, they can actually have this touchless, contactless experience with their parking, and that is more efficient, that you can control, that you can of course get data from, that is very, very useful, and insights, of course, on how to further optimize without the need for new infrastructure building.
And also without need of hiring new people.
Exactly. Operational burdens definitely get limited or eliminated. Maintenance costs virtually vanish over a period of time when we implement these solutions. And the good thing about it, just to give that summary to the listeners as well, is that if you're in a saturated market, listen to the market, listen to the needs of the customers and the citizens of that market. Listen to what your competitor is doing, but also focus on yourself. Those are some takeaways that any startup in any field, but dominantly in the technology field that is saturated, can take in order for them to be able to grow and evolve. Without adapting to the market dynamics, you basically cannot evolve, because other applications, other platforms, other technology companies will be in a race, so they will run while you're walking. But at the same time, of course, I'm not asking technology companies or technology startups to lose their DNA, to lose their purposes, to lose their what they value the most and what they stand for the most. I'm asking them to change the management strategy that is completely related to the brand and the purpose. At NaviParking, I said before that we our core DNA revolves around sustainability. And our vision and our purpose is completely linked with that core DNA and value of sustainability. However, when it comes to our strategies, we sometimes shift strategy, shift positioning in certain markets just because that market is now being disrupted by another competitor, or there are new emerging technology that is coming out that we need to grab onto or jump on that bandwagon really fast without losing track of our DNA, without losing track of our purpose, of our vision that honestly the entire team of NaviParking abides by and embodies at the end of the day.
And I really love what you said, that adaptability is a very important key, because adaptation is a really big part of innovation.
Definitely, I agree with that. Definitely, because what does innovation really mean? If we could dive into the true meaning of innovation, innovation is about we're in a world of refinement, not a world of invention. Innovation is about refinement. Refinement itself is about adaptability. How can you adapt with what's coming in front of you at the same time, while not losing your core DNA, your purpose, your vision, what you stand for as a brand, as a company, as a team. For example, when the pandemic hit, we took a step back. We had to strategize again and see where we can position ourselves. And the idea of, for example, touchless technology came about internally. We were brainstorming that, and the whole idea of touchless technology, when it was actually pitched, it actually got hooked with a lot of our prospects, because now they're in a panic mode and they want anything to hold on to, so that their employees, for example, their workforces do not get disrupted. Their workflows do not get disrupted.
Yeah, and nobody wants to have an entire time on a parking lot or in front of an elevator, the sanitizing gel putting on their hands, right?
Exactly. And there's a lot of, let's say, when you arrive at the parking lot, you'll have to touch the ticket button, take the ticket, and so on and so forth. Or you have to hit the card as well. With the solutions we have, all of that is eliminated. You're only touching your own phone.
Yeah.
Which is phenomenal.
And which has to be cleaned sometimes, remember, people.
Of course. I recommend cleaning your phone, sanitizing your phone every week.
Okay, Ahmed, I think we have pretty much every single topic covered for today's episode. Do you have any more tips at the end of this episode?
Well, to give that added value to the listeners, I'd say when you start any company, and when you specifically start a technology-driven company, think of the root cause of a problem. Think of what kind of problem you're solving. Think of why you and your company and your brand is special. What capabilities it has, what resources do you have to make it happen, and that should definitely transform your company and identity and brand towards a purpose-driven kind of orbit. So with that purpose, then you can navigate across any market. You can adapt to any market you want, as long as that purpose is definitely for the greater good. As long as that purpose is in cloud 9, let's say, it's high up there that it seems impossible to reach. And if we look across a lot of brands, whether in the technology sector or not, you'll specifically also in the mobility sector, you'll find those purposes or purpose statements are very generic, but when you deep dive into them, they actually have a lot of meaning. And when you connect the DNA of that company to their brand, you'll find a lot of phenomenal, let's say, attributes that their solutions have, that most probably will buy the solution at the end of the day. And that is what I always advocate for as a brand manager and a brand strategist, that you have to be purpose-driven. You'll have to create brands for the greater good, because we're in a world that is sometimes unfair, that is sometimes cruel, especially with let's say big conglomerates claiming thought leadership and leadership on what a brand is. So my, let's say, not recommendation, but my hope for the entire technology sector and the mobility sector specifically is for them to think about our planet, to think about our people, to think about how we can make life easier.
Nice. I really like this idea. And also, the other tip from today's episode is to clean your phone's screen.
Yes, exactly. That is way more important, because without the phone, you cannot do anything nowadays.
All right. Ahmed, thank you very much. It was a pleasure to have you on this episode of Smart City Navigators, and I hope to see you at the next episode.
Yes. Cheers. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you for listening to Smart City Navigators podcast. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. Join the conversation by leaving a comment and sharing your thoughts. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the next episode, in which we'll do another deep dive into a topic related to innovation, sustainability, and new technologies. See you next time.